Yeah, I apologized every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I really never thought she forgave me completely, you know, but things never changed a little. I mean, she didn't treat me bad, or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we wind up knowing before you were born. And you were born, and then Coachella was born. And we pretty much raised y'all as a family. I mean, it wasn't, you know, I knew some things were there, you know, that needed addressed. But I think that's kind of what led me down to me doing some of the things that I did, you know, to turn my life around. And, you know, but we've had some pretty, I'm not gonna say rough or tough, but we've had some pretty exciting, different adventures, you know, from the moment that you were born, you know, from the moment we went on prom, you know, so
Oh, I
it's
should have
just,
brought that picture down.
yeah, hey. But, yeah, you were actually conceived on prom.
Is that true, Mom? Because I heard 3 different stories.
No, but we don't need to go down that path.
Right, 'cause she was,
Let's say he tried it.
oh my God.
Because that was the thing to do back then. You go on your prom, everybody going to the hotel, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen
It
on
didn't
prom. It
happen
happened
on-
on my birthday.
Right,
Thank you.
because she
It happened
was
on
I'm
my
born in July, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
she
but
was
as
in
far
there.
as the situation with with you all sister, I knew he had gotten somebody pregnant
Mm-hmm.
before we eaten up.
I did tell you. You don't
Hold
know
on,
much.
hold on. He was out of town,
Mm-hmm.
and he called, and I said, I had a dream. I said, somebody's pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't know at the time who it was.
Mm.
But at that time, we had been together, and so when he came home, he found out about your sister Quintella, and then he ended up telling me. It was a little bit after I had found out that I was expecting as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they had a lot to do with the way that I handled the situation. Because I was 17. I mean, not that I was gonna, as you say, snap, crack, and pop, but it was a little hurtful. And yes, we did talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
and we pressed our way through it. But yes, I still had a little, resentment, or how could you do that to me? You said you cared about me and all these different nice things, and it was with his ex-girlfriend, and so yeah, I was a little hurt about it, but because of like I said, I knew about it in a sense before it even came out, openly. I would think that helped me be able to deal with it. So.
Now, the one thing I like about your relationship, even though you're not married anymore, is that you're still cordial to each other. So the fact that you could be on this couch together, when a lot of mother and fathers cannot,
Mhm.
is very nice to see. So what is it about my mother that allows for you to be able to still love her the way that you do and be able to be as cordial to her as you are?
It goes way back, and it was funny because during the break we was just talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
When me and your mother first dated, I was staying at Robert Taylor's,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother was with her husband now.
Mm-hmm.
Then we talking about 1977, and my father would come over
Mm-hmm.
and visit with then his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And Teresa could not understand that no way whatsoever. She's like, this is crazy. You have your father here with his wife, and you got your mama here with her boyfriend, and they sitting at the table talking. She didn't understand that. And I don't know what it was I told her, but it flew past her. And I was just telling her during the break, I didn't understand it. I just loved it. I loved the fact that I had a mother that had her relationship. I had a father that had his relationship. They were not together, but they was always. And my father got married 2-3 times after that. And every wife, my mother and Bob, knows him, communicate with him, talk to him. My father was welcome wherever we were at, wherever my mom was at, you know. And I think that's something that was instilled in me, you know. Not even just the marriage, even relationships that I've had in the past. I've always been cordial with the person. You know, I try very hard not to hurt people. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it's worse than others, you know, but that was one of the most difficult things that ever happened to me, was when me and your woman decided to depart. You know, I was given a choice. I have to admit, honestly, I was given a choice. And I chose the wrong one. You know, I don't regret, because right now I think that I have the mentality that nothing happens by mistake. You know, everything was good. I mean, I think about it sometimes that if I hadn't made the choices that I had made, you know, she would disagree. But we would have like 40 years, you know. I don't think about it. No.
Yes, you do.
But anyway, we are friends. Whether she can stand it or not, we are friends. We have over a 40-year friendship, you know, and that don't come lightly. Friendships like that don't come lightly. You know? I love the fact that I can pick up the phone, call her at work, or call her at home now. But I love the fact. I love it, and it's something that's just not in the norm. It's not in the norm, and I don't know. I guess my mom and dad rubbed up on me, you know, and I appreciate it.
And what about you?
Okay, well, I will not dispute the fact that I may have asked him about his parents. I don't see me doing that because my grandparents were the same way. So I had come from that already. And my mom and my father, even though they had never married, they were, well, my father, like your dad. Oh, I love your mama. I'm gonna always love your mama. So I knew that, you know. So for us to, even though I can only deal with a teaspoon of him, what we have here is, you know, come from our upbringing. That's what we saw. So that's what we give out toward each other. It's not as hard as I make it seem, but you have to know him. You have to know him. And anytime he needs, you know, wants to talk to me about whatever it is, whatever I can, you know, conversation I can give him, whatever advice I can give him. There's been some advice I've given him, and he's hard-headed and went on and did what it was that he wanted to do, and then you see the end result at some point. And, you know, I don't want to say I was right, but I was right, you know. But yeah, he's, you know, I mean, he's okay, you know. He's y'all's dad. I mean, what? Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, you welcome.
So now you talk about the things that you both saw growing up. So in regards to being parents, what things did you pull either from a negative aspect or a positive aspect? that you received from your parents that helped you to become the parents that you are?
Okay, I'm first. Okay, first of all, my father was not in the household with me. I saw him every now and again. That's a whole nother subject too. I have to do a report on that, but that's a whole nother subject. But my mom was there. Okay, and she was there from the standpoint of providing. You know, I saw my mom go to work, bring home the money, make sure we had whatever it was that we needed, and some of what we wanted. So she was the provider. But I also had a grandmother who was the nurturer. And so my grandmother was there when I really needed that comfort. I knew I could go to my grandmother. So with my mom, and this is a time of forgiveness for me at this point, because with my mom, when you were born, I could remember her not wanting to go to the hospital. Not you not wanting to go to the hospital. And I've held on to that, but I at some point I know I will have to let it go. But it's still a memory of mine. And so and then I grew up around an environment where there was drugs and, family members being incarcerated all of the time, and all of, being in the midst of raids and and I said, I do not want my children to be in that environment. So when you were born, and here I am, this 17-year-old girl in school, waiting and excited about going away to college, and then it was appalling. That devastated me, but I knew that I was not going to be a statistic. I was not going to be, on foods. Not that, if the situation calls for anybody else, that's fine. I'm talking about me. I was not going to be on, sitting around being on food stamps, sitting at home waiting on a check, having a whole lot of things going on around my children. I didn't want to, even though we were living in Robert Tate, Ivy Wells, when you were born, I had an uncle who did not live in the projects, and I made that my home. I was the girl that was, ooh, Teresa's pregnant. Ooh, everybody was surprised. Everybody that knew me was surprised that I didn't do anything, didn't go anywhere, so they wondered, how did that? But it happened. So I wanted to not bring you up in the way that, and around the things that I grew up around. And so with that, I made the decision, get her out of here, go stay with your uncle, get back in school, which I rely on my grandma to help. Do what it is that you need to do as a mother. And he was still around, doing what it was that what he needed to do as a dad, providing, working, all that. I'm talking about me. I had to do this for myself. So I took everything that I saw that was in my household, and I went the opposite way. I have a sister, and my sister, she gravitated toward my mom and my father's lifestyle, and I gravitated toward not their lifestyle. So and that's what I've tried to do with the kids, and especially if you've been in school since you were 2.
Yeah.
So somebody's
Still in there.
So it's like you were the first one. I wanted to make sure that I did right with you and by you during that time. Mistakes were made, but hey, here you are today.
Pops.
Your time.
Hey, the part of my parenting came from the way my mom. I was raised in Woodlawn area. We were just free to do everything, anything outside of, in that era. Young people today wouldn't even understand some of the things that we did as kids. But my real parenting came when we moved to projects. Like your mom mentioned, she was from Ivy Wells, I was from Robert Taylor's. And My mom didn't play. My mom didn't play. She's still around and she still don't play.
Right.
But she taught us life on real terms. She didn't sugarcoat nothing. She didn't sit us down. And it was 5 boys and 1 girl in that household that I grew up in. Without a father. My father was around. And she keeps saying I was around. I was always around. You were always with me. It was never a time that you, Teresa was standing here and I was standing there. We were together. Even after the babies was born, you know. I knew what I wanted. And I can't, it's hard to say it, but this is how I meant it. I wasn't taking no for an answer. You know, I loved her. I was confused because I had 2 girls, 2 big girls at the same time. You know, I was scratching my hair out, trying to figure out who was gonna have them first. And, you know, I wanted to make sure I had 2 girls or 2 boys because I didn't want to divide it. You know, you got a boy over there and a girl. You know, God bless me the way he did it. He gave it to me just how I had asked. You know, these things that don't nobody know that I was going through. You know, it wasn't easy at all, man. For her to stand by me, you know, for whatever reason it was, I know in my heart that it wasn't from love, which made it a little easier for me to deal with it because I wasn't anticipating anything, and nothing came. You know, we got married 3 years after we were born, you know, with another baby in our stomach, you know, so life went on. But the parenting part was me keeping it real with you. You were my first. Gwen was my second. And then I had a son. Just the way I asked. I was like, God, now I need a son. I don't need no other girls. I need a son. It all happened. Everything was happening the way it was, you know, well, she, you know, but I was raised, my mama didn't teach us about the birds and the bees. You know, she, like I tell you,
Obviously, yeah.
and I don't know if I can say this on camera, but that's the way they was raised. This the way you were raised. You know, because like I said, I've always been there. So I
Right.
kept it real with y'all.
You did.
Twyla too. She's in the corner over there.
We got the street version.
You got the street version.
Yep.
You got it the way that I got it. You know, and the bird is up there, and the bee is somewhere in the beehive. But you got your man, you got your woman, you got your aunt, you got your aunt. And I'll
Yep.
keep it real with you about everything. It wasn't just about sex, it was about everything. Your mom will, let me read the book, and let me, you know, that was her way of doing things.
Right.
And I let you all, it was good that you got both of those.
We did.
And I used to tell you, I've never talked against your mom to you. But me and you had a different type of relationship.
Yeah.
believe it or not. You know, you were my oldest. You know, I expected you to direct your brother. And
Yeah.
then when your sister came, I expected that of you. You know, your mom was working because she had a better job. You know, we had babysitting problems. That's the parenting I'm talking about. I mean, coming upstairs one day after we had hired a babysitter, and I was working. She had just got a job. Stuff you may not even know about.
Now y'all bougie. Y'all had babysitters and everything.
Well, we had a babysitter.
That explains
I have been working since day one. She got a job, making good money, and was working. And we had hired a babysitter, and we woke up one morning. We had fixed our house up, our apartment up, real nice with new stuff. Everything was new. Living room set, bedroom set, stereo, and woke up and the babysitter was down in the hallway with some man, and I didn't know. I'm on my way to work. I calmly turned around, came back upstairs, got in the bed. Teresa was like, "You supposed to be going to work? What's wrong?" I said, "No, you can tell the babysitter on the way out. When you go out, take her with you." I
So
got
you let
this.
Papa have.
I got this. Yes, I got this. And at that point, that's when the real parenting came in, because Teresa became the breadwinner. And gave up my part of making the money and doing the things that I had been doing since day one to take care of my children. You know, and you know,
Yeah.
you went to school every day, you did your homework, your mom come home, she got her bath water, dinner was ready, she didn't have to worry about nothing. You know, and we did that for years.
Yeah.
You know, she talked about you being in school since you was 2. Twyla been in school ever since she was 1. You know, just taking y'all, and I planted her in the kindergarten and pre-K because you were a big influence on me, believe it or not, because you entitled me, you pushed me to do things that I didn't. I'm like, I will never forget the first day I took you out of school, you was like, Dad, I want you to join the local school council. That's when it first came around. That was just started. And I was like, local school council, girl, I ain't gonna be giving up to the top. That was the best thing that I could have ever did.
Yeah, you became president.
I was everything.
Never left school.
I was everything. I was part of the school. The school, everybody in that school knew Mr. Boyd. You know, everybody knew Twyla because I had Twyla by the hand like this walking her to school every day. And I knew from Miss Brown, I knew then, when you had Miss Brown as a teacher, that you were gonna pursue the educational. I didn't think of a teacher.
Yeah.
Actually, that's what I thought, a teacher. But I knew then that you were gonna become something in the school system. It was just the questions that you would ask me. And I was like, ask Miss Brown, she's your teacher. You know, but I participated in everything. I feel so good about being a part of you all's upbringing. Not that your mother wasn't, but your mom was the breadwinner, you know, and that may have been the best thing at that time. You know, I hated giving up what I had because I had a good job. I hated it, but that was a part of parenting back in the days, sacrifice. You know, we had to make a choice. You know, do we let this person babysit our kids while us both go to work and take the chance of me coming home and my stereo gone? You know, how much I love my stereo.
I know.
Or make a sacrifice. I'll take care of the kids. She was making a little more than what I was making. She was making good money. So I was like, no, you work. She had just started. I was like, no, get your feet wet. Get your, you know. She'll never know it because I never told her. But that was one of the hardest things I ever did in my life. I never told her that. I didn't want to. Was me give up me being the man of the house to let her be the woman of the house. I didn't know it was going to be sweet as it was with establishing and building the relationship I did with you all. You know, I don't know if in the long run she felt bad about not having that relationship, how you all used to sit at the table, you doing y'all homework, and y'all say, Daddy, what's this, what's that? You know, I don't know how she felt.
Did you ever resent the fact that he stayed home with us? Because he was always there. When we went to school, Daddy was there. When we came home, he was there. He made us dinner. He made sure we were sitting at the table eating, doing our homework. And then you would come home about 5. And that's why I learned my work ethic was from my mother. Like, I work as hard as I do now because of my mother. I would see her get up with her stockings on and her white socks and her gym shoes and her heels in her bag, and she would go to work with her suit on, and then she would come home and everything would be done, and then she would wrap her hair and put on her little moo-moo and get in the bed and start it all over again. And Daddy was at home, which was when I got married the first time. We clashed because he grew up with his grandmother taking care of the house and his grandfather working. And I came from role reversal, where the mother works and the father was at home. And we never had that conversation of this is how our marriage is going to be, even though we were coming from 2 different lanes. So how did you feel having to, like he said, be the breadwinner and not be there and build the relationships that you may have wanted to with your children because it was better for you to work than Dad?
figured that we were playing the roles that we were meant to play
Mm-hmm.
at that particular time. I'm more of the quiet, the shy individual.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I had been at home, you probably couldn't have convinced me to join anything at school. I may have come to pick you all up,
Mm-hmm.
but to be involved in all of those things that he was involved in that turned out to be very important for you all,
Mm-hmm.
back then I wouldn't have done that. So, and I know that about myself. And again, I did what I saw my mom do.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was okay. It was, I'm working, and I know if he wanted to work, he could go out there and get him a job. He had been working.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there was a decision that was made amongst us to do what was best for the family at that particular time.
Mm-hmm.
So there no resentment. The time that I could help with homework or whatever, sure, I was there to do that. But he enjoyed doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed going downtown in my suit and my gym shoes, going to the law firm, doing what it was that I was doing at that time.
Mm-hmm. So now that I'm older and I have gone through some of the things that I've gone through, I can honestly say, and now Daddy has shed light on why I wasn't as close to my mom as I was to Dad, because I would have preferred my father over my mother. And I know they say Daddy's girl, but now I understand now why I was closer to Daddy, because he was always there more so than you were. So once you all got divorced and we ended up being with my mom, and then my dad was going through his issues, I still longed for that relationship with my dad. And my mom and I was basically as if we were starting over, getting to know each other, because now I had her more than I had my dad. So that caused a lot of issues between her and I when I was growing up. And I'll be honest, I was a little fast, just a little bit. But I was looking, not a lot, just a little bit. But I was looking for something in other boys that I was missing from my dad. Like, my dad was very affectionate. He told us he loved us. He gave us hugs and kisses. Even now, he'll try to kiss me. I'm like, okay, Dad, get the cheek. Like, I'm grown now. But that's what I had. Whereas with my mother, we had fun together, but it wasn't as deep as my relationship with my father. So when I was a teenager, my mother and I butted heads a lot. Like, I really didn't like you, Mom. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that now. I really didn't like my mother. Mm-hmm. And I wish that I had my father around more. And so when I ended up dating and then getting married, a lot of the things that I saw my mom go through with her second husband, and then the things that my dad was doing, I realized that they were things that subconsciously I was allowing to happen in my relationship. And that's why I wanted to do this episode, because I realized after getting out of that relationship and going through therapy and getting closer to God, that I was holding on to things and blaming you all for things that you really had no control over, because you were trying to figure it out as you went along too. So with my mom, I resented you because I respected you as a mother, but I didn't respect you as a woman. And I don't think I've ever told you that before. Okay. So when you were in your relationship with AJ, the things that I saw, and I would say, why would you let that happen? Why aren't you listening? Why aren't you following the signs? And then when I went through with my first husband and realized that the reason, that's when it all came to me. The reason your mother did this is because she's trying to honor her vows. And then it made me closer to you, because then I could relate to you. So I had to bump heads with my mother, get grown, have my own marriage, go through my own issues in order to realize the decisions that she made. And then now, as a woman, I can understand you and appreciate you now for the decisions that you made, because now I know why you did what you did. And then with my dad, I didn't like you because you allowed your addiction to take you away from us. But I protected you at all costs. Nobody could say anything about you. I will fight a man over you, and tried once or twice. Nobody could say anything bad about you because of the relationship we had formed from me being younger. But then I realized that the addiction wasn't Andrew. It wasn't Andrew that was acting out, it was the addiction. And so I wanted to do this episode to let people know that even though we grow up with parents that make decisions that we don't understand at that age, if we keep living, as the old folks say, we'll end up going through some of the same things that they went through and then have an understanding and a sympathy for what they did because now we're going through it too.
And may I say this? Mm-hmm. You mentioned resentment before. My resentment came when, based on the relationship that you all had, and we knew that he was in his addiction. Because I'm like, here I am doing this and this and this. You know, I'm paying the bills, I'm making sure you have food, I'm buying your clothes, and, you know, I'm trying to do the best that I can. But you keep gravitating toward this individual here who at the time was stealing from us, stealing from you, you know, doing all kinds of things. And I'm thinking, something's not right here. You know, so, but now I understand because just like you are with your dad or were with your dad and with me, you know, back, you know, years back, even though it wasn't my dad, that's a whole other issue that we have to talk about. But even though it wasn't my dad, I had my grandmother, you know, and my mom. And again, I know I was doing what my mom was doing. I saw my mom doing. And my grandmother was doing what your father was the nurturer. And my grandmother was the nurturer for me. And so I had to come to the realization that it wasn't so much that she loved you any less or whatever. Yes, the relationship was strained and we had to go through our thing as mother and daughter. But there was still that resentment coming on my part that I had to get through and be able to understand that it's just, you know, the same thing that you have been going through all the time with your, you know, as you were growing up with your mom and your grandmother. And so here you are again, because I truly believe that life is a cycle. Yeah. And things, you know, will come in maybe in a different way, but pretty much the same way. And like I said, for me, it was my mom and my grandmother. With you, it's your mom and your dad. But nonetheless, we were going through the same. It was a cycle of repeating some of the same things that we had grown up, you know, or that was in our lives at the time. So that was the resentment for me. That was the resentment because I just could not understand. And to be honest with you, there were some days when I went to bed crying. I'm like, what is going on here? You know, so, but God is good. It's all good now. You know, relationship is much better and between us. Right. And
I think that's because I had to go through some of the same things you went through in order for me to appreciate the decisions that you made. Yeah. And to understand you as a woman. When I was with Daddy, it was at that pivotal time where kids are like sponges. This is where they form their relationships and they understand what love is. And so Dad was around during that time. Yeah. And then when you all divorced, I was 10 years old. So then here comes the adolescent part and the rebellious ages. And so I'm like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do now? And with you working all the time and me having to take care of Bam and Twila when you weren't there, then I'm like, I'm not supposed to be doing this. Where's Dad? So I had issues with you not being there. I fought at you for allowing your addiction to take us from us. But I can honestly say now that I understand what you all did, why you all did it, even from the foundation that you all had as kids. Played a lot into the type of people that you became as parents and as a man and a woman. And so when we don't break the cycle, you said yourself, you made sure that I didn't grow up the way that you did. And sometimes you have families out here who don't know how to do that. And so they end up repeating the cycle. And even with the things that you all tried to do differently, there were still some things subconsciously that happened because of the way you were raised. And I learned that from our first panel discussion when I realized that both my parents felt the same way or had a moment in their life where they were sitting there waiting for their father to come. and he never showed up.
Mm.
So we had that same thing in common. But I never realized it. So when we come back, we're going to have Miranda, our therapist, come and shed some light on some things and give the people who are watching, who may be in the same situation as us three, tips on what they can do to improve their relationships and learn to forgive.
But I have one thing to say real quick. Your mom just mentioned about how she believes that the world goes in a circle. I taught you at an early age, how to take care of your brothers and sisters. And
Not
you
knowing that it
resented
was
me at
coming.
the end. Not knowing, not anticipating that it was going to eventually lead to you taking care of your brothers and sisters because you all went with your mom. And if you remember, I removed your brother.
Yeah.
And I basically removed him because of her. I was mad. I never probably told her that.
That was based on the conversation we had, and we agreed to. But
Well,
okay.
we agreed to it.
This,
We agreed to it. I didn't want another man raising my son
Mm-hmm.
because I had raised him,
Mm-hmm.
and she agreed. So we had a peaceful divorce. Same lawyer, everything, and I did immediately after I left from Davis and Saturday night. I went straight to the school and talked about it. Didn't give her a chance to say goodbye. I did that because I was mad. I was mad because I lost her. Basically, it was over. All that anticipating that I had during the time that we were separated, ever getting her back, was over. Peacefully, we didn't have no resentments towards each other. Physically, mentally, whatever. But in my heart was true. And I wanted to hurt her. I never physically hurt her or mentally hurt her. But I figured if I could be my son, he mad. And she mentioned it. You could at least let me say goodbye to her. Because I went and got it right after once you got our work, he was gone. And I apologize.
Yeah,
Because I always wanted to tell her. Because the only words that I remember from her that in situation was, you could at least allow me to say goodbye. I never forget that. And she wasn't mean saying it, but she did say, you didn't never let me get a chance to say goodbye. You could at least let me get a chance. But she came home and he had been discharged from school. I had him. She's single again, but I mean, he was mad. That was all I had of us then. And I wanted her. Because I would never physically or mentally hurt her. And she knew that. I'm not that type of person. But I know I hurt her.
So let us break, and we'll come back with Miranda.